It's time to start breaking down the recruiting class of 2023, at least in the summer sense. Who are some players that are exciting, who have some high upsides, and who would I love to see BC get to close out this class? All of this and more on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I'd like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for being the official college football recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College Network. LinkedIn Jobs help you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free on linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. All right, so the class of 2023 at time of recording has 16 commitments and 2 secret commitments, kids that have yet to announce, but will be pledging to BC in the near future. Now, today's show is not just to go over and recap. This is my superlatives for this class during the summer months. Who are the 3 players that excite me the most about Boston College's recruiting class? And I'm not just going by star system. I'm going by what they could bring, what I've seen, what I've heard, and what they could produce for the Boston College Eagles. So I have 3 names of players that I think are the most exciting and explosive or overall good players that are going to evolve into regular starters for BC. So my first one, Antonio Cottman Jr. We're going to go, this is a relativity bias here because Cottman is, at the time of this recording, the most recent commitment for the Eagles other than Fala'epoa, the linebacker. He is from Virginia, and why do I get excited about this kid? He has, I think, the complete package to become the next shutdown cornerback for Boston College. He's 6'2". He's got good size, he's physical, and he's got that swagger that you want in a defensive back. You want a guy that is good size, physical, and swagger. You get that whole package in Antonio Cottman Jr. Now, he is a kid that is on Twitter all the time, and you see pictures of him with NFL-level cornerbacks, college cornerbacks. He is everywhere. What I like most about Cottman is that I think he's going to come in and be an immediate contributor for BC. After this season, Josh DeBerry is going to go to the NFL. Obviously, I think he has one more year of eligibility left, but he's going to go. I mean, this kid, DeBerry is going to be a second-day draft pick. He should go. So you're going to have some spots available. And, of course, Hafley has done a nice job of building up the depth chart at cornerback. But Cottman, I think, will be a guy that will be, I'm not sure if he's going to enroll early. He hasn't said anything about that. But if he does, watch out for him because you got a guy right there that is about ready to start the college level in terms of playing. You know, he's got the whole college package already. He's ready to evolve there and take that next step. He's not a kid that needs to put on 30 pounds or get better at technique or he's sloppy here and there. This kid is right at that baseline where you bring him in, you coach him up, he'll be ready to roll. So Antonio Cottman is one of my 3 I'm most excited about. Another player that I am really excited about for this team is going to stay in the defensive back realm anyways, is Khalil Ali. Again, this kid, I was stunned that BC was able to keep him here. And I think that shows what this staff is able to do to get their message across in a way that even good, solid recruits, I mean, Khalil Ali is a 4-star on multiple recruiting sites. He chose Boston College over some really good programs, Louisville, West Virginia, and I know he has connections at both programs, so it was a big get. Why I like Ali is he reminds me a lot of Jaden Woodbey. He is a safety, again, big. Another guy with good size, which we've said on this podcast a lot, is something that Jeff Hafley really values. But I think his versatility and his violence is what's going to really bring him to that forefront. Now, he can play safety. You can line him up at safety just like Woodbey. You can also put him in the box. You can make him a linebacker. He's big enough that you can have him line up at linebacker and be that hybrid type player. So with Ali, you've got some depth there, and I like what Hafley is doing with that position. I mean, look at the guys that he's putting into this position. It shows you the speed, and Ali is a quick dude too. I think that's another thing that's really important to note. Since he's been here, this position has evolved. You now have, you went from guys like Mike Palmer, who's he's a solid player, say what you will about him. Jamin Muse, guys like that, more of the traditional safeties, to guys like Jaden Woodbay, who's speed, to Sayone Hala last year, another linebacker hybrid, to even Cam Arnold, who can do both. You get these guys like that, and now you add Ali, you're starting to build some depth there. And that gives you a lot that you can do, because you can put in multiple hybrids if you need to. You can do a whole bunch of different things with these kids, and it showcases the ascendance, the progression of this position with Jeff Hafley. And I love Ali. I think this is one, in terms of my favorite gets so far this year, guys that are committed to BC, Khalil Ali is my favorite. I'll put that out right now. I'm not putting my 3 right now in terms of production in any specific order. I'm giving you just 3 of them right now. Khalil Ali is my favorite. He's one you need to watch for. I think, he's a New Jersey guy, which was a huge positive, because BC hasn't really been super competitive in New Jersey. It seems like Rutgers is eating their lunch a little bit. But I think Khalil Ali, he was a top 5, I think, in the state. This is a big get for BC, and I think he's going to commit and be a very valuable contributor for Boston College for years to come. Then my final, I promise you, will not be on the defensive backs. My final really exciting player I am excited to see on campus is Montrell Wade, the wide receiver from Texas. Just like I like that Jeff Hafley brings defensive backs in his style, and immediately when you see guys connected to what Hafley is looking for, you're like, oh yeah, I want that guy, right? I love this connection with wide receivers from Texas. They have Jaden Williams now. Montrell Wade is as good on paper as what you got from Williams. He is a lengthy receiver. He's at 6'1", 182. He's a track star. Watching his film, this is a kid that can jump. That was what stood out to me. This kid can get up and get the ball. Like, I see when I look at Montrell Wade, wide receiver 1 right there. Like, he is a guy you could have as your lead wide receiver year in and year out. And it goes back to that Texas breeding, right? Breeding, I hate that word. That's not the right one. The Texas systems that these players come up in. There's just something about playing high school ball in Texas that's very different than playing high school ball anywhere else in the country. Now, you can make your arguments. Some of the other states like Georgia or even like Florida is right there with them. Louisiana, I know there's some good programs. But Texas is a world of its own in terms of the way that they produce college football players. And we saw that with Jaden Williams last year, who I'm telling you, I think will take a big leap. But Montrell Wade, he came, BC is starting to really make that push in Texas. They're offering a ton of kids down there. And Wade is one of the few that has committed this year. There's a couple, their quarterback, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I love how Wade looks on film, and I think he is exciting as well. Now, in a moment, those were 3 that I'm like, those are studs. These are guys that are going to be major contributors for BC. Who are 3 players that we're going to look at now that have huge upsides but need some coaching to get there? I'll get into who those 3 are in just a moment. Now, as the sun comes out and small businesses are back in business, LinkedIn Jobs make it easier to grow your team. LinkedIn Jobs help you find the people you want to interview faster and for free. Create a job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond in the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. With simple tools like screening questions, it makes it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs help you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Locked On Boston College. This is a big recruiting episode. I know a lot of you folks out there like this when we kind of get into the recruits, hearing a little bit about it, especially now that I am the publisher of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 network. I am really connected into the whole recruiting world. I started it with, BC Bulletin, but really I'm now part of a network of real good recruiting experts, and you're going to start to hear a lot more about recruiting from me, so hopefully you enjoy this kind of stuff. But the first segment, we talked about exciting players, guys that you could be suiting up as true freshmen. This segment, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about players that have high upsides but need a little bit more tuning, or they may just may need a year or two to get themselves rolling. And that first player I'm going to look at is, we're going to stay down in the heart of Texas, is quarterback Jacoby Robinson. Now, Jacoby Robinson is a class of 23, of course, is what we're talking about here. He's from Texas. He's a 3-star. He opened some eyes at that Elite 11 quarterback challenge. Now, if you don't know what the Elite 11 quarterback challenge is, it's where the best quarterbacks in the country all, they have regionals where they try to get to the finals, and the finals is always like big names. Like think like Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young, all the big names, and Caleb Williams, I think, won it a couple years ago. All these big name college quarterbacks are always in it. Now, Jacoby Robinson I didn't expect to get to the finals. And he didn't. He didn't get past the original round. But what he did do, a lot of folks were noticing. John Garcia of SI, and he's been on our show a bunch, was down there and said, he's got a lot. He's got an explosive arm. He's got good size. I think he's 6'3", 6'4". And he just looks like he's got it. Now, he is not the polished type of quarterback. Like next year when he gets on campus, I don't expect him to beat out guys that have been on campus, whether it's, I imagine Emmett Moorhead will be the quarterback after Djokovic graduates. But Jacoby Robinson, with some work, with Steve Shimko, the quarterback coordinator, and with Halfley and John McNulty, he should start to develop. And if they can get him to that next level, I think you're going to start to see some interesting quarterback races coming up in a couple of years in terms of the depth chart, because I love what I see with Robinson and what I've heard, like good arm, accurate. It's going to take him a little bit of time, and that's okay. You have Moorhead hopefully ready for next year. You got Moorhead for a couple of years, then you bring in Robinson or Peter Delaportis, the quarterback that committed in 2022. So you have some times for him to develop, but I think his upside's good. I really like his upside, and I don't want to say he reminds me of Djokovic, but he's got the build and similar ability to move like Djokovic. So if you like that kind of style of football, you're going to like Jacoby Robinson. That's one name to watch for. Another name is the wide receiver Nate Johnson, from Florida. Now, every person I've talked to, he's probably the fastest player on this roster right now, and unless Roderick Pleasant commits, the cornerback from California. Nate Johnson is a wide receiver. He was a defensive back and wide receiver in high school. I look at what he does, and I imagine that his recruiting pitch was, hey, how's it going, Mr. Johnson? How would you like to be the next Zay Flowers? Now, there's only one Zay Flowers, but this kid is electric on the field. While Montrell Wade is probably a bit more polished in terms of being a wide receiver and being ready to play, Nate Johnson is a burner. This kid is quick. He's the type of player that you get out there and you get the ball to no matter what and let him do his thing. Now, I don't see him as polished as Wade. I think he needs a little bit more time to work, so I don't expect him to be on the field immediately, but weirder things have happened, right? So I think he might take a little bit of time to pick up the speed of college football. Maybe a year or two down the line, you're going to start hearing the name Nate Johnson all the time. And finally, the other person I cannot wait to see on campus and see what he could become is offensive guard Michael Krauts. Michael Krauts comes to Boston College from DeMatha Catholic in Maryland, the same school that BC's had a couple recruits come from. Obviously, he has a connection with Azar Abdul-Rahim, who is the master of recruiting down that area. I love what this kid can do. He's an offensive guard. He's 6'5", 310 pounds right now. Again, when you're looking at offensive linemen, in most cases, you don't want them out there as true freshmen. Unfortunately for 2022, BC's going to have some guys out there that are pretty raw. But Krauts is needed at a position right now that I think BC is kind of raw at, right? They don't have many guards on this roster. As I've mentioned, when Mahogany went down, the list of potential players was pretty short, right? So I think Krauts, Mahogany already said he's coming back in 2023. He said that in his ESPN interview when he went down with his injury. BC is going to have a need for guards, I think, soon. And, 2 years is perfect, right? So if Krauts comes in next year, 2023, he takes a year off, and I'm sure there'll probably be a player ready to take that spot. In a year or two, he's a name I think that could be starting at guard for BC for 3 years. I think he's that good. He's a 3-star recruit, but he had good offers. I know that Pitt wanted him, and there was a couple other ACC schools that were interested. He's a solid get. And just like every offensive lineman, I think with BC, I think it's just going to take him a couple years. And once you see that, you'll see him grow into the offensive lineman that you need at guard at Boston College. So those are our three players I think that are exciting. And this is not to dismiss any of the other recruits that are committed here. I mean, there's other guys I could have gone over, like Falae Poa, who I'm so sorry if I'm messing his name up. Palahe Foa, I get his names mixed up. Linebacker from Bishop Gorman, love his play. And then there's some, other players I think as well that could, Sean Battle. I could talk about defensive backs all day with this group, but I had to make a list. I kept it short. I picked some players that I am interested in seeing, and those are my 3 for each. Some 3 best probably impact players and 3 that are going to develop into some really solid players. In our final segment, BC's at 18 recruits. 16 if you want to just talk about the ones that are known. Who are 3 names I would love to see the Eagles land to kind of wrap up this class? I'll get into those 3 in just a moment. Now, BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. So head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Make sure to head over to BetOnline, where the game starts. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black here. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for everyone who has become a subscriber to our YouTube channel. Again, subscribing on YouTube is absolutely free. Does not cost you a cent. If you have a computer or a phone with a YouTube app or a web page on it, you probably have an account. You may not even know about it. All you need to do is hit subscribe. I'm going to be doing special episodes. I haven't been able to do many because there hasn't been any news lately. But during this week, if there's something that pops up that's interesting and it's worthy of a bonus episode, it's going exclusively to YouTube. So you want to make sure you become a subscriber. Just hit that subscribe button. And if there's a little bell there, if you hit that, you'll know when I go live with some new stuff. Okay? Now, BC, as I said, 16 commitments. 18 if you consider 2 silent commitments who have not been announced. If this class was to end on a positive note, if everything goes the way it is supposed to play, to get them over that hump, to make it close to a top 25 program, who would be 3 players I would love to see commit? Now, these are realistic plans. I'm not going to say guys like St. John Prep from Danvers, Jonell and Aguero. He's already said he's not interested in BC. Same thing with Samson Okunlola. He came in on an unofficial visit, but it looks like he's heading to Miami. He might have by the time I've recorded this. Who are 3 guys that they could get that would be so exciting that it would put this class into that, like, I feel really good about this the class of 2023. The first name that pops up, and a name I have talked about till my face turns blue, is Roderick Pleasant. Now, I saw Rivals.com is saying he's going to announce his top 5 soon, and I imagine Boston College is going to be in that since he took an official visit there. But I am excited about the defensive backs class that they have coming in for class 23. Sean Battle, I talked about Khalil Ali and Antonio Cottman. Pleasant would take it to the next level. This, as I've said, this kid broke the state of California's 100-meter race record as a high school student. He would give you speed that you would not have anywhere else on this roster or in the history of this roster. Like, I mean, you get Zay Flowers, but like he's up there in that elite echelon. Now, my hope is that New Balance hears about this and says, we need to make him we need to sponsor him because he's got the speed. We can talk about our shoes. My fingers are crossed that New Balance gets involved in this somehow to get him here and gets him a little NIL deal to get him enticed. But he's also looking at some schools like Oregon, USC. So it's going to be a tough battle, but for all of you folks that really want some 4 stars, he's one of them. He's a top 100 recruit. And I'm telling you, I've talked to him. I called him on the phone about a week and a half ago. He really likes BC. It's not a joke. He's very into BC. So this is one you're going to want to watch. Speaking of 4 stars, the other 4-star I think BC still has a chance with is athlete Ronan Hannafin. Now, I say athlete, and usually most of the time you can kind of guess what they're going to be. It's either like, oh, he's going to be a safety or a wide receiver, and then you could see by who they're recruited. With Hannafin, it could be anything because he's recruited as a linebacker for Boston College. But I know I've heard, and he said that he's interested in playing wide receiver too. So it all depends on, and I'm sure BC would be fine saying yes to anything to him. He's a Massachusetts kid. He's from Cambridge, Mass. He goes to a local school. I mean, he is down to his top 4, I believe, and it's Clemson, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Boston College. Now, you'd look at that and go, whoa, there's no way he's going to pick BC over them. Fair. However, I wonder, I don't think Alabama is as big into him as, just based off of what I've read and what he's said. I think Alabama has their certain types of guys. I don't think Hannafin's him. So I'm a little bit off on that one. I think the team to watch is Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I've seen a lot of pushing, and I've seen graphics that players are pushing out that are clearly made by this team to try to get him there. So I think the Fighting Irish are the team to watch for. But I'm telling you, don't count out BC in this. BC is definitely in on Hannafin, and it's going to either be, in my opinion, if I was going to go 1, 2, 3, I think it's Notre Dame, BC, Clemson's right behind BC. So it could be any of those 3 schools, but again, you get Pleasant, you get Hannafin, you got your 4 stars right there. Boom. You hit those out of the park. And then my final player to watch for is on the offensive line. And this is, I said Krauts was important at guard, and Ryan Mikow, a other offensive lineman, a versatile one, from St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida, also very exciting to watch for. But I think that group would really kind of come together and really solidify in terms of talent with Brandon Solis, an offensive tackle from Lipscomb Academy. And why I like him, he's only a 3-star, but he has 21 offers. He's got big ones like Indiana, Cincinnati, Maryland, Mississippi State, Purdue, Pitt, West Virginia. He's got a bunch of offers. So he, for me, the reason why I like him, first of all, he's a big, giant tackle, and you can always use some of them. I love that. But he fits that mold that Jeff Hafley has been doing of grabbing players from power programs in high school. Lipscomb Academy also gave BC Alex Broom, the running back who's going to be enrolling this summer. I love Hafley's attention to these things because Lipscomb has produced some really good, solid NFL talent, NCAA talent, And to get an offensive lineman from a group like that is an A+ in my book. So I think BC's in good shape with him. I know he visited. I know he's big into the Eagles. So I think they could get him. He would be my final, icing on the cake for this class of 23. And of course, there's other ones. There may be surprises here too, because that's the fun of following college football and recruiting. Well, this is AJ Black. You can follow me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC or on Locked On BC. Again, make sure to follow us on our YouTube channel. It only takes 2 seconds, but makes a world of difference. And I think you'll enjoy some of the things that are going on that page. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you again soon.